In the United States, you can assassinate the president on the street, but you can never join in the fun. The little girl just took a curious look out the window, but she had just opened the curtains. Sniper in the window! In this way, an innocent girl was shot to death indiscriminately, and this situation is considered normal in Detroit. In 1967, a riot with heavy casualties occurred in Detroit. On this day, a group of black people were partying all night in a private bar. Unexpectedly, the loud and noisy music attracted the white police patrolling nearby. The police broke into the bar and arrested all the black people inside for illegal assembly and operating without a license. What was originally an ordinary night patrol gradually escalated into violent law enforcement amid the excitement of both parties. More and more black people were watching, and they continued to provoke the police with words. Suddenly a wine bottle was thrown from the crowd. After the glasses were smashed, the crowd immediately became agitated. Other black people also threw stones and smashed the police car. The police saw the police retreat in a hurry. This group of black people thought they had won a great victory, and some of them went so far as to attack a store owned by white people next door, break in, and brazenly rob. Not only that, in order to demonstrate against the police, some people threw Molotov cocktails at the gas station, and the fire quickly expanded. The riots further worsened, and black people have since become synonymous with local violence and danger. The next day, black congressmen came to the streets to speak, hoping to stabilize the situation. He advised everyone not to let the situation continue to get out of control, otherwise the rights and interests that people have finally obtained in the United States will become in jeopardy again. Unexpectedly, the congressman's persuasion had a rebellious effect. The surrounding crowd became more and more agitated, and the relationship between the two parties suddenly became tense. Members were driven away and forced to terminate their speeches. Angry black people continued to vent their dissatisfaction on the streets, and the riots escalated again. They walked towards the firefighters who were putting out the fire, picked up rocks and threw them at them wildly. For safety reasons, firefighters had to make an emergency retreat. After the governor learned of the incident, he immediately sent troops to suppress it. Tanks and armor drove straight into the city to warn the black people not to act rashly. For a time, all the media were following the real-time developments of the riots, and relevant news was broadcast on TV channels. The white girl asked,
so violent.
After hearing this, the black people in the room asked, "Aren't white people violent?" The boy complained emotionally about the situation of black people. In order to be more intuitive, he pulled his companions to act out the situation. The sudden appearance of a pistol shocked his companions.
I do something wrong, officer?
Did you do something? I ought to blow your head right off.
The next second a gunshot rang out, and the others were frightened. In fact, the boy was not hit, it was just a starting gun. Others found the prank not funny and left. The boy with the gun was asking for trouble. At this time, a patrolman happened to be passing by downstairs. He decided to find some excitement and show the white people some color. In order to seek excitement, the black man raised his starting gun and aimed at the white policeman downstairs. When he heard the gunfire, the policeman quickly found a bunker to hide. They smashed the street lamps immediately, and then hurriedly deployed their positions to enter combat mode. Seeing the police walking around in fear, the black man was very proud, and excitement filled his brain. Then he fired again, but he didn't know that the police had already discovered his location. Police support soon arrived and surrounded the building. Seeing the police car appearing downstairs, the black man panicked. Only then did he remember to close the curtains, turn off the lights and hide everything. Unfortunately, it was too late. Bullets were aimed at the room like raindrops. When the gunfire stopped, the black man took the opportunity to escape from the building. Unexpectedly, there was an ambush by the police with guns at the door. As soon as the black man appeared, the police opened fire decisively, but they could not wait for him to chase him, only to find that it was not a sniper as expected, but an unarmed civilian. In order to avoid punishment, the police deliberately dropped a knife and pretended to be self-defense. A large number of police entered the building to search and took everyone upstairs for interrogation. They were asked to lie down on the wall and form a row. When they saw the bodies of their companions, everyone was trembling with fear. The police sergeant began to question who had fired the gun. After repeated questioning, one of them couldn't bear it anymore. He said that there was no gun here at all, and the gunshots he heard before were just the starting air guns used in the game. The sergeant felt that he had been fooled. Seeing that the interrogation was ineffective, the sergeant began to use violence to extract confessions. He threatened to kill everyone if they could not explain the whereabouts of the gun. As soon as he finished speaking, he dragged a person into the room, took out a pistol and put it against the back of the black man's head, demanding the whereabouts of the gun and the sniper. Faced with a death threat, the frightened black man tried his best to explain that he was not at the scene at the time and had no idea what happened. Then the police sergeant pulled the trigger and shot the gun on the floor. The black man still didn't know what happened. The chief squatted down and ordered the black people to keep quiet and cooperate with the execution, pretending to be executed. Then he went out and warned everyone that this is what happens if you don't tell the truth. Then he followed the same pattern and dragged the second person into the room. Since the riots, the police in Detroit have gone crazy. They don't believe the testimony of anyone here. Even if they beat them, they still have to get the truth they want from their mouths. Even the white girls among them are not immune. The white girl was having sex in the room, but because of the presence of black people, she was judged by the police to be engaging in improper transactions. The police thought this was an insult to the white people, so they took the girl away alone and conducted a brutal interrogation. The police continued to teach other black people a lesson, and after repeated questioning, they still could not find out the whereabouts of the gun. The police wanted to repeat the same trick and dragged a black man into the room, intending to use threats to make him confess directly. When he saw the gun pointed at him, the black man was frightened. He desperately begged for mercy, but what he got in exchange was a bullet. When the police chief came over to check the situation, he was immediately shocked by the scene in front of him. The police officer also looked confused. It was obvious that the police chief had shot two black men just now, but why did he ask himself why he killed him? The police chief immediately closed the door and explained that the guns he fired before were all empty guns, just to scare them. Now that the police are shooting at civilians, the nature of the matter has changed. In order to evade responsibility, the police chief told the police officers to insist that it was self-defense. It was the black man who wanted to grab the gun and attack the police, but the police had no choice but to shoot and kill him. Afterwards, the police chief quickly handed over to the other police officers and threatened the other black people not to tell anyone about what happened tonight. In order to survive, several black people agreed to come down. Only one boy was unwilling to hide the truth after witnessing the tragic death of his friend. He denounced the police as the murderers. The police were afraid that he would do something bad, so they simply shot him. As everyone knows, as soon as the freed black people escaped, they immediately reported to other police officers that they were violently enforcing the law and shooting black critics. The incident quickly made news headlines and caused an uproar in public opinion. This intensified the conflicts between races. The 3 police officers involved in the operation that night were charged with intentional homicide. During the trial, the police lawyer avoided the important matter and never mentioned the violent law enforcement. Instead, he pointed the finger at the black man who deliberately fired to provoke the police. Lawyers also use personal attacks to provoke witnesses to look for holes in their testimony to confuse right and wrong. Because the victims that night had no physical evidence and made empty statements, they could not prove the police's charges. The lawyer backhandedly accused them of false accusations. As soon as these words came out, the black people who testified in court were furious. It was clear that the police killed someone, but just because the victim was a black person, the law and public opinion unconditionally favored the other side. The black people on the jury stood up and applauded. In a world of racial discrimination, there is no justice for black people. However, the judge still refused to accept the testimonies of all witnesses due to insufficient evidence. Not only were the 3 police chiefs acquitted, but the court would not retain any files on the case. What happened in Detroit is undoubtedly a microcosm of the entire United States, and the problems left by history will never be eliminated by time. Just as a white woman asked a reporter after the trial if this matter had been replaced by a white man partying with a black girl in the building, would the result still be the same?